recording of her that she didn't know was being recorded, which is well being recorded, of her stating that. However, I'm not on the sex registry, and I'm not a pedophile. Now, Lance Spivey and Nancy have put a statement out saying that they've never said anything of the sort, and I have an audio recording that says otherwise. But it gets even more interesting. She's now trying to pull her video where her tire got sliced, and has now publicly publicly stating that her tires were not sliced at Chapel Hill. And yesterday, I obtained through the Open Records Act a copy of the police report and made it public, which shows that there was vandalism to the truck, which unfortunately... Huh?
Yeah, I'm right here.
So she's denied that the vehicle was spliced outside of back pedal, and she's already lost... and there's the controversy in the Confederate movement, because now there was the people that are questioning her, because people know I'm not a pedophile, because I'm not on the registry. These people have even looked it up. You know, two, they know that the vehicles were vandalized because she did post a video. So I got the audio recording of her and Lance. Well, it's her talking, but this is reference to their group, thinking I'm a pedophile. And three, something I'd never told anyone, and I'm going public with, on February 2nd, the event at Stone Mountain, she told me she'll be standing with the White Knights. That's a part of the Klan, the KKK. So Nancy Rushton is Klan. She's told me that. But I was willing to overlook that simply because I was not officially part of a group. I just went there to support the monument. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they don't like my rhetoric saying, oh, he's too violent or whatever. Well, I defend, I don't attack, I react, I don't act, and they don't like my rhetoric. Of course, there's a lot of patriots on my side because I'm quite sure you're familiar with the Proud Boys, right?
Yeah, of course. And before you go further, do you mind if I'm recording this conversation?
No, I don't.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure.
Yeah. No, just ask me any quick stuff. And I know, because if Missouri is a two-party state, you'd have to, and I'm a one-party state, you
yeah, I'm a one-party state as well. I don't like the idea of secretly recording things, so I actually like to tell people.
Okay. And the only reason I recorded her was if it was something that could be a false accusation was made. You know, if someone disagrees, like if she was just sitting there, no, we don't want you to come, guess what would have happened? I wouldn't have come. And it would have all been left private. None of the current ongoing controversy and videos that I've recently made would have been made or done. You know? Mm-hmm. So I don't want to go where, okay, but because they made the accusation, that statement, which the audio is on my Facebook page of the conversation, okay, saying we saw that you're a pedophile online, blah, blah, blah. And I said, and then you'll hear me say, oh, so because I'm a pedophile, they don't want me coming? She goes, yes. And I'm not a pedophile. I'm not on the registry, never been investigated. And they're going so low now, they put some collage together of all the different actions that I've done in the past. Like the one in the yellow shirt is when I was standing in front of a recruiting center, bringing awareness to truth being unarmed after the Chattanooga shooting. Then they showed a mugshot where I was arrested because I accidentally used the wrong picture, caused a lot of terrorists. One of my guys gave me the wrong picture. Oh, and then they even had a flash where I was arrested in Greenwood, South Carolina. And if people look that up, that's going to be my next video. I was. And I was held overnight in jail for DUI, which was thrown out a few months later because the records will show I blew zero in the breath, but because I was so tired, they thought I might have been under the influence of some drugs. So when the urine results came back from SLED, South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, guess what?
They dropped
it. It was zero. As soon as I walked in the courtroom, I didn't even have to walk into the courtroom. They said, your name? I said, James. Oh, yeah. And the officer was there to meet me. He goes, hey, Mr. Stachowiak, you're free to go. You know? Okay. So they're trying to make mountains out of molehills. But Nancy, yes, she is Klan. She's confided in me that she's Klan. And I'll swear to God on that. And I don't believe in supremacy of whether it's white, brown, or yellow. I'm not a white supremacist. Because I'm against Black Lives Matter, I'm not a white supremacist, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe in that. I believe in everybody should be, equal. It shouldn't be, people should be treated fairly, and I don't believe in the supremacy of any race. Nancy, however, she does stand with the Klan. Okay, and Nancy is losing some people, and there's a lot of people. I'm not losing any supporters. I'm actually gaining people because of her attacks on me. I've also brought it to the attention of the Southern Poverty Law Center, which I left her a message this morning of her Klan connections.
Okay, so
and they even told the Southern Poverty. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that. So, like, your YouTube was suspended, right?
Yeah, it appears, or at least I can't gain access to it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was going to ask, like, what is your, I'm glad to hear from you because I'm interested, having watched your videos. I mean, so what I guess is your response to YouTube removing you? And I also I saw that some people were claiming that you're an Uber driver, and it seemed like Uber was like looking into that. I was wondering, is it true that you're an Uber driver, and has Uber made any effort to reach out to you to understand the situation better?
I'm not going to comment on that, but
okay.
But as far as the response I'm going to make, as far as what am I going to do about YouTube, the response is this: by the end of spring, definitely by summer, I'll be launching a website with my own servers, which I will be able to host content not through a third party, like how some do link sharing, like, for their videos on their website. I'm going to start out with 250 gigabytes of storage space on our website, and everything, all the content to include videos that have been removed in the past will be put back up, which will actually increase the traffic because I know how to do search engine optimization and all that, the keywords, meta tags, and all that,
Right.
So that's my response is I'll be launching a website. I'll be launching a website about that. So that'll be my response. It'll be freedomfighterradio.com. It'll be going to a website that will be the content there will be content that will be in violation of Facebook community standards, YouTube community standards, and all the social media community standards combined. My page will basically, the content will be, if it was done on any social media platform, would be in a violation of it. But because it's an independent website, I'll be able to do that.
Right. I mean, so the other thing that's been just interesting is you post a lot of videos with a lot of guns. I know you always do clarify. I mean, you always do explain.
Why? There's a good reason. There's a good reason.
Uh-huh.
Because the people like see in the accusations that I'm a pedophile, they claim, right? Pedophiles can't own guns, and if I am what these people say they are, whether it's a pedophile or a felon, then all they have to do is call the sheriff's department, and a couple of weeks ago, they were given the sheriff's department number and told people to call the sheriff's department because this gun, this gun will put me in jail. Right?
Right.
So basically, that's why I do it, just to show people, hey, felons can't own guns, okay? Pedophiles can't own guns. If you think it's true, then call the sheriff's department and I'd be arrested. Also, the people who make threats. Hey, it shows, hey, I'm well armed, and it's basically a deterrent.
Right.
The primary reason is because of the false accusations that people make that I'm a lost. It just shows that apparently I'm a lost gun owner, or I'm the biggest fool on the internet because the police can come knock on my door because every gun is a violation would be an arrestable offense. Actually,
sure. Okay. So I get that by proxy it proves that you're not a felon, but with the I guess I should say to your political, enemies. I mean, the comment that you're generally making is that if they strike first, then you'd shoot them, right? Is basically the gist of it. I guess my question is sort of like, should they be concerned in general?
You saying if they strike, we strike back, you're saying?
Well, it seems like that's generally kind of your rhetoric, but it's a lot of pointing guns around the internet, which is a red flag for some people.
Yes, my enemies and the people that oppose me personally and my agenda should be very concerned. Absolutely. If they strike, if they attack, we will defend. Just like the guy in Atlanta that attacked, and I caused damage to his leg. We found out the next day because I bent the baton across his leg. He was unarmed, attacking swinging a punch at another man. After he was told to stop, he didn't, and he had a metal rod bent across his leg. Now, some people, even that were in the area, thought, "Oh my God, you hit an unarmed man." Well, he attacked. You know.
Well, so
yeah, my enemy.
Let me tell you something that I've witnessed, kind of just in general, like covering left versus right stuff. So like this isn't on you personally, but I've witnessed like very often the left wing will start some kind of violent confrontation, right? Like a stealth attack of some kind. Someone in it. So something that I see on the street fairly often is that like a left-wing person will start an attack, will go punch somebody, and they're wearing a mask, and they kind of escape into the group of their comrades, and then you can't get them. And the right wing. Sorry. And
then the whole group gets attacked, right?
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say, but then usually the right wing is better prepared, and so they tend to engage rather than in stealth attacks in kind of escalation dominance. Like they have the better weapons, the better prep, whatever. I guess my question is.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah. Oh no, there's nothing wrong with that. But the question I have to you is though, with the way that you've described it is like, oh, there's only one solution to Antifa, and your exact words were, I think, like, light them up. My question is should people be concerned that, like, if you are at an event where Antifa threw a punch, that you're gonna kill 10 of them? You know, do you get my question?
No. And good. I'm glad you did that, because I got a video that would prove that on the Blaze, which has the article, and even on the InfoWars, Trump supporters attacked in Atlanta, Georgia, right? When that guy came and I hit him down with the baton, of course, InfoWars said he was held at with pepper spray once or pushed down in the Blaze. If you watch the video, you'll see the shadow of a baton. At that time of that attack, I was wearing pepper spray, a baton, and I was open carrying lawfully a 45. You follow me? So
right.
the guy
you're saying you hit him, but you could have shot him and you didn't.
Right. Correct. That's the proven fact. I had a 45 on my hip. And the article was on the Blaze. If you put Trump supporters attack Atlanta, Georgia, or crazy left-winger attacks Trump supporters, they have a video clip on it. You'll hear my voice in it. He could have been shot, yes. I had a 45 on my hip. I didn't go for my gun. Why? Because he threw a punch and he had no knife or gun. Okay? So when people say that, or law, or if I ever were to say that, that would be my defense. I've had situations already. I use that force which is necessary to secure the safety of myself or those around me.
Okay, and so you would generally say then that people shouldn't be like concerned about the types of videos that you're putting out. That the point is not to lead up to any kind of mass violence.
Only if they want to do what they threaten to do, because they are threatening violent attacks. Okay, with knives and guns, right? They only need to be concerned if they plan to cause tremendous bodily harm. You know?
Right.
Okay, so yeah, and I'm not the only one that feels this way in this country, and they're concerned because I'm energizing a lot of people that already think and or bringing people on board to think like I do when it comes to that mode of thinking.
Right.
That's why they're concerned, because they know that we're not going to take it lightly. They don't like resistance. CARE of Georgia even put a press release out against me saying I advocated shooting Muslims. And I said, any Muslim that attacks me, that attempts to silence my free speech, okay, but, an act of physical aggression, will be shot. And, of course, Edward Mitchell, the executive director of CARE, under Obama, said this guy should be arrested and investigated by the DOJ. The reason it didn't go anywhere, David said, well, his caveat was if they attack. Yes, that is the caveat. I don't attack anyone, but I will defend. Now, what would happen if a 300-pound guy twice my size, or even not twice my size, a rather large guy came at me with a stick? No gun, no knife. I'm 58 and they're 25. What would I do? They would be shot. You can use deadly force if you're in fear of serious bodily harm or death. You can use deadly force. And in law enforcement training, at least in Georgia, the use of force is based on several factors: age, gender, and physical ability, which would incorporate health. Okay?
Right.
Like an old man with a walking stick, he would have an easier legal defense against shooting somebody because of his physical limitations and because of his age.
You were a police officer at one point, right? In Georgia?
Yeah, I resigned because I had someone renting a room, and I resigned because I had a renter that was renting a room for my house named Mitch Rodriguez, and I got off duty, and he had a 16-year-old girlfriend there, and I told him to get her home, and they tried to charge me with contributing alcohol to a minor, which was dropped in a plea deal, only because, if you do investigations, a lot of people don't have the money for an ongoing fight, okay? And so I took a plea deal on that, but they're saying, that means he raped her. No, that does not mean he raped her. The guy, it was a 16-year-old, that was back in 2006. But that had nothing to do with any sexual charge.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess what I was going to be interested in is that...
and if it was a felony, I wouldn't be a licensed gun owner, card-carrying gun owner.
Oh, no, I know that. That actually wasn't what I was going to ask about. I was going to say that a lot of 3%ers that I know are either veterans in the military or ex-cops. Well, and in some cases, or current cops. I guess I was going to ask, do you think that your time in law enforcement has kind of informed your political standpoint today?
Well, actually, a lot of the military and 3% leaders, the military is trained to kill and rape things. They're not really trained on the Constitution. They're not really trained on the threat of Islam. And a lot of these 3% leaders, as the truth be told, many of these so-called 3%ers, and we can do a story on it sometimes, support the notion that I and many disagree with, that you can be a Muslim and a patriot. I have a real problem with that. Some of them are even engaged in trying to find common ground with Black Lives Matter so we can avoid any physical conflict, civil war in the future. In my growing number of many, I don't believe in any dialogue with Black Lives Matter or Antifa with the goal of reaching a peaceful resolution. Why? Because none of their grievances are legit. All they have to do is obey the damn law, okay? And everybody will get along fine. But when you try to have dialogue and negotiate, well, we're going to give in to some of their grievances, like Black Lives Matter, like, there's a war on black people, which is a conspiracy theory that's not based on fact. It's only based on emotion. I disagree. And we got 3% leaders that are actually calling leaders in Black Lives Matter patriots and their brothers. And that's caused a controversy in the 3% movement that I brought up to the surface. Like Denise Freeman of North Carolina, the Lightfoot Militia. For one, I got screenshots of their comments on my page, on my Facebook page, of their pro. And we even got 3% leaders that believes green cards should be given to all illegals. A guy named Sean Truthman Stallman. It's on my page. I got the audios where he's paid. All illegals should be given green cards.
So, I mean, in the interest of full disclosure, I've covered Lightfoot several times, the New York and the Pennsylvania Lightfoot on a few different occasions, including Charlottesville, but some other things as well. But
I consider the Lightfoot all the way back 18 years ago. Have actually their organizations on record for supporting or refusing to denounce the Idaho Lightfoot militia, which has embraced the neo-Nazi that was involved in a murder-suicide named J.T. Reddy years ago. That murder-suicide occurred in Pima County, Arizona. And the Lightfoot militia today is openly embracing and engaging in dialogue and talks with Black Lives Matter. Okay? That's a fact.
Okay.
That is a fact. They've had 2 Patriot Summits where they sit down with Black Lives Matter and have dialogue. And a lot of people aren't keen to that.
Okay.
There's a lot of people that...
I want to ask you, though, you talk about... When you talk about these other groups, the Antifa, the Black Lives Matter, or whatever, the left-wing type groups, you seem to refer to it as basically war or something like that's coming. That I understand you say like you wouldn't start it, but you'd finish it, and I believe you. I guess I'm asking if in a general warfare type situation.
Hold on, hang on one second. I can see this. Hang on.
Uh-huh.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Wouldn't you rather have a diplomatic solution, just like in foreign policy?
No.
Wouldn't you rather have peace? Like, isn't the Lightfoot doing something, I guess, good by having the conversations to prevent bloodshed?
Good. I hope you use some of my quotes here and comments. Here's another one. No, for the same reason that at this point it's too developed. I use the historical example of Neville Chamberlain and Winston Churchill, which I'm quite sure you're familiar with. Neville Chamberlain held up a paper and said, "Peace, peace in our time." And I'm saying this for people that may not know. Peace, peace in our time. It's signed by Adolf Hitler. We don't have to worry about war. Hitler's only, trying to improve his economy, build up his military for defensive purposes. And Winston Churchill was saying the opposite. And, of course, history proves that the signed piece of paper was as good as a dirty piece of toilet paper. Okay? We've also seen Iranians, even under Trump starting to break the treaty about nuclearization. Okay? And Ian Rand said, in any compromise between food and poison, it's death that we resolve. We cannot compromise with evil. He said, but if we have talk, we can have peace. In order to have talks that result in a peaceful resolution, both sides got to get something out of it, okay? Everybody knows that. It's called negotiation. It's called compromise. Right. What do we have to give up to compromise with Black Lives Matter and Antifa? There's not one agenda, not one. Oh, the capitalist system. Oh, the bankers. Well, you know what? I've lived overseas, okay? And even the capitalist system with the corrupt court system and banking system, far, America at its worst is better than any other system at its best. Okay? I'm not saying that doesn't mean we work for peaceful resolution on the civil end of it, but when it comes to Black Lives Matter and Antifa, when they continually call for pigs in a blanket, flying like bacon, okay? But, that Michael Brown had his hands up, when they walk around with shirts, we march, we die, Black Lives Matter. Andre Gregory, who is supported by leaders in the Lightfoot militia, including the South Carolina one. And the defense is always says, well, he helped out in disasters, or this person or this person. They help out in disasters. They do charity work. They're working against the drugs in the street and the violence in the neighborhoods. That's all good and fine, but it's all taken away by the one fact that they are part of an organization, Black Lives Matter, that is backed by and has full support of the American branch of the Muslim Brotherhood, CAIR, led by Hamas terrorist agents. And they said that in December of 2015, that Black Lives Matter is their matter and struggle. And on the same symposium, they even advocated revolution in America, an Islamic revolution in America. So no, I'm not. It's like Muhammad. Muhammad made peace with his enemies so that he can build his armies up, and then his enemies weren't building their armies up. Okay, he went out and conquered them. That's how he achieved all his victories. So no, I think we cannot have dialogue. All they have to do is obey the law, and they don't have to worry about being killed in the future. Yes, and I did use the word kill. Because when they start attacking people, they're going to die. People are going to be shot. There's going to be bloodshed in the streets of America. Difference is
I guess, do you consider that sort of apocalyptic vision of it something to be avoided, though? I mean, is there nothing you can do other than threaten the violence to prevent that violence from happening?
I wish, not to sound gross, I wish I could wake up and never have to worry about having diarrhea or be constipated, okay? But that's not reality, okay? It'd be great if no one, like the Nickelback song, would it be great if everyone cared and no one died, you know what I mean?
Right. But I mean, so like even President, I think that most people can...
Like the liberals. It's a fantasy world that the liberals live in, and that's why this country's being destroyed, and that's why California's a shithole, because they live in a fantasy utopian world in their minds that's really physically unattainable.
Okay, I mean, I guess the comparison I was going to make is like on a gigantic scale. I mean, even President Trump wants to shake hands with Kim Jong-un and try to settle things down there. Like, do you not see any just like chance of a de-escalation of kind of the rhetoric? I mean, are you concerned that this kind of thing could lead to people dying?
I would tell Kim, if I was Trump, I would tell, hey, look, you don't have to worry about your country being turned into a sea of glass. You launch one missile, your country disappears. I play Houdini. I make your country disappear.
Right.
That's what you need to do. I mean, it's only the threat of force and the willingness to use it that one is able to retain their liberty. That's Thomas Jefferson.
Would you consider yourself willing to use it? Would you consider it tragic if you pulled that trigger?
I think it would be tragic for anyone to have to shoot someone, even in self-defense, that the person, like say someone attacked me, we'll use me for example, someone attacked me because they believe the lie that I'm a pedophile, right? They say, oh, I'm a pedophile. And then they die thinking they're attacking a pedophile, which I don't have much respect for them pedophiles personally, okay? But, and if they die or they're seriously injured because they believe some false narrative put out by someone that gives me the justification to use force, I think that would be, of course that would be tragic. That would be tragic.
Right. I mean, I guess, so like, I'm not a gun owner personally, but I've gone shooting on several occasions. I'm not somebody who has any issue with self-defense, but I'll tell you that it would be weird for me to post videos talking about it so much. Do you get what I mean? Like it seems almost like something you're excited to.
Well, no, they have to see one that we are how serious this has gotten. Okay, I do it again, as I said earlier, to show that hey, I'm a gun owner. Right. If half of what people say about me was true, I wouldn't be able to have the gun. Well, it's not unstable to show your enemies, hey, look, I have a gun. It's to, when they see it, okay? And the threat of force. And I even do believe in the threat, the use of force in reference to the Milwaukee riots that occurred. And that's another thing. People say I advocated shooting black women and children. You know what? You can't find one audio anywhere where I said to shoot black women and children. But you said to shoot the looters. I said to shoot the looters, yes. And I did say women and children, yeah. But, and how do I defend that? I defend that because the children that were looting in Milwaukee were not wearing diapers. They were 12 and 13 years old. They were classified by the Department of Family Services as children. If you look at all the loot videos, you don't see kids wearing diapers, smashing through store windows and stuff like that. They were adolescents. And do I believe in the use of lethal force on looters? Absolutely. Why? Because the threat of force worked and stopped riots in some neighborhoods in LA during the teen riots. Okay? By the Korean store owners that were on the roofs that tried warning shots. They worked and stores were saved because of the threat of force by store owners that showed the willingness to use it. So yes, I do believe in it.
So I was in Baltimore when the Freddie Gray riots happened, for example. Nobody,
right?
It was violent. It was scary to some extent. I saw people breaking windows and stealing things and all that. But I will say,
and people do that to inside. Everyone breaking a window like that, if the law enforcement and the National Guard were able to get a clean shot, I would have supported them being shot with lethal force. Yes.
So, well, of course, that wasn't the police's position. The police basically protected government buildings, and they more or less let the looting happen, to be honest. So, I'm not commenting necessarily on how I feel about the police's tactics. But my question is, given your, I guess, the way that you describe your philosophy toward essentially any kind of aggression, such as looting or whatever.
Yeah, any destructive act and violent act is how I word it. Go ahead.
But then you talk about really using lethal force to do those things. I guess my question is, should anyone be worried that if some kind of a civil unrest situation occurs, that if Baltimore, Freddie Gray dies again, or someone like that, and a situation like that occurs again, where people are stealing things, they're setting fires, nobody's dying.
I know that. I wouldn't go to Baltimore because it's not my neighborhood. Here's the thing.
But my question is, should people be worried that there'd be a mass shooting, that you'd have a half a dozen, even if they're looters, but you'd have like half a dozen people dead if Jim shows up at the Black Lives Matter event?
You mean like if people like me show up and stop the looters? Yeah, they should be concerned.
Do you think that that's a favorable outcome? A couple fewer things were stolen, and there's blood on the streets.
Well, you know what? Obviously, nothing's being done. Even after these riots, there's been no prosecution. Even after video evidence of these cars being destroyed, and the threat to burn the city down, like in St. Louis, no prosecution has happened. So no, apparently because the system, it's only because the justice system has pushed it to this point. Okay. I believe that, hey, that's the only solution that can be given. If I had a $5 bill in my pocket, I said this at the Chapel Hill, or a dollar, or even a quarter, and a man said, give me that $5 bill or I'm going to stab you, and I have a chance to pull my gun, guess what? I'm going to give him the $5 and let him walk away. Look what I did. I'm probably going to shoot him. I regret it, but why? Because he's willing to use a weapon. Strong arm robbery. If they do it to one person, it's only a matter of time before they cause harm to another person. Okay? And yes, I believe anyone that's in those situations should be shot. I do believe in the shooting of looters. Okay? If someone was burning my neighborhood down, or they're trying to burn my house down, they'd be shot. You don't just call the fire department and the police. You have the right to protect your property. I mean, that's one of the most fundamental basic rights of common law is the right to your personal property, you know?
Right. Well, you said earlier that you felt like you were actually gaining support. I know that you had your split from the Confederate type people that I filmed you when you were working with.
No. I am part of other Confederate groups that are really on a Facebook present. I'm part of a group that was actually we were going to bring, and this is no joke. I got a hold of some people as a result of the last event. You know, I had about 40 people that were going to come this time as enforcers to make sure that the violence was occur as an attack from antifa. But they're not coming now. I've had people step forward after seeing the Chapel Hill one, asking if they should come, and now they're not coming. Now, I don't know if anyone else would come, but I've had people ask me if they want me to come, yes or no, and I said no, and it's okay, we want that.
Right. So, I guess my question was, with that split, do you feel like do you have a specific, I guess, like, community at this point, or are you kind of doing your own thing?
Listen, her group is nothing. Her group is nothing. The people that my enemies need to fear are the people that you don't see with, okay? That's what we call, see, a lot of the patriots I know, militia, whatever, they're not even on social media, or when the ones that are, they don't identify as such, okay?
Right.
Because they're waiting for the shit to hit the fan, or it'll come out of the woodwork. The only reason I maintain police is I've been in the news for years, so if I want to go dark, so to speak, to would show that I'm hiding or I'm in fear, and I'm not going to do that. But I can assure you, there's a lot of people out there, more than you know. Nancy's group is pathetic. Her group, here's the Confederacy. In fact, they're not that committed. See, I was even part of a group. You pointed out last time she had 19 commitments to come. Only 9 people showed up.
Right.
1 from Georgia. 1 from Florida. And only 1 and then the others are from South Carolina. And hardly anyone in North Carolina even bothered to show up. So she truly had that kind of support. She may get it more this time. But it's going to be really interesting to see how many people she gets, because she only got 9 last time. The time before that, we went there on a day. I joined her. There was only 5 people, 4 besides myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to see where her support is.
Right.
See, I'm not organizing rallies and protests. I might show up maybe from time to time, like with her, but the 9 people, that's no reflection on the failure on my part. It's a reflection on hers. I'm not
I get that. You weren't the organizer. So, I mean...
I just wanted to point that out. You asked me to be recorded, I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah. No, I understand that. Going into 2019, I guess, what's the plan? Like, how do you plan to go forward with activism or of whatever sort you
We're building. I'm working, and I have been for years, working on building cells, continuing building cells to deal with these people when they ever decide to launch their so-called jihad on America, or when they people want to go put the foot further down on the pedal, and go full throttle. There'll be people, at least here in Georgia, that way. Lone wolves aren't just individuals. Lone wolves could be anywhere from 1 to 6 people. Okay? Small pack, but not organized groups. That way, as the Southern Poverty Law says, it avoids detection. Okay? I mean, I've received physical threats from people telling me, hey, you just quit pointing a camera at a video, or I'm going to take you out. So my response is, I do another video, I point the camera at the video and say, hey, those are the red, those are the blue. If you attack me, the odds are I kill you. I don't say that's a threat. No. The key word is attack. Also, if I'm killed, the people responsible, I'm going on public record saying, if someone says they're going to kill me, and they do, my death will be avenged with their blood preceded by the family members. People say, that's a threat. No, because if I'm dead, it won't be me. No one has to worry about anything happening to the family unless they're responsible for my death. That's some strong rhetoric, but hey, it is what it is. I stand by it publicly. Should police, FBI, or judge, because anyone that kills me, they will be dealt with.
When people use words like cells and
I have friends of mine that are military snipers. I even have a couple friends that are former CIA operatives that were assassins to the CIA. Those people will hunt down anyone responsible for my death.
When you use words like cells and lone wolf, usually that's associated with an offensive rather than a defensive. I don't tend to associate. I don't think I've ever heard someone use those terms in reference to a defensive force.
No, because you have to use the enemy fight fire with fire. See, the biggest thing they label people like myself is that we're anti-government. No, we're pro-government. We support the police. We support this president. We support the Constitution. But if they would have, like, say, national gun confiscation, I've openly advocated lethal force to be used if they went street by street in, say, New Jersey. I put a video out. The first time a street in New Jersey, when the weapons are confiscated, simply because of a new law, I openly advocate that from there on out, every state official in New Jersey and buildings should be targeted. Why? And that's not crazy, because on April 19th, that's what the government did. They came to disarm the citizens, and farm by farm, gun confiscation. What resulted was lethal resistance to armed conflict. Okay, armed conflict is the answer to gun confiscation. And so they said, oh, you just go back to court and fight it. No, you don't fight in the court. You don't allow yourself to be disarmed. It don't matter if it's even the president, the Supreme Court, Congress, or the Senate. The right to bear arms is a right that can't be legislated or voted out, because that's what an inalienable right is. It means it's a God-given right. It means it can't be taken away.
At the end of the day, the enforcement arm of the state is the police, though. I know you're saying you'd shoot the politicians.
Would I advocate going to war with the police and even our own government if they were involved in the state or a national gun confiscation? The answer would be, well, yes.
Right.
I believe our guns are to protect us against tyranny and government. We, the people, will not be disarmed. There's enough people believing that we do that. They had problems in Afghanistan. They had problems in third world countries. The people in America are better educated, better trained, and better equipped as private citizens.
Right.
So, yeah, gun confiscation will result in the Second American Revolution, because the consequences of the past repeated today will produce the same results. For instance, if you jump on top of Stone Mountain and jump on Stone Mountain today, what would result would be the same result as if an Indian 200 years ago jumped off the Stone Mountain, at the same point,
Right.
You both will hit the ground just as hard,
Do you plan on, actually, you mentioned Stone Mountain. Do you plan on I don't know if you know about it, but there's an event called Rock Stone Mountain.
I don't plan to go simply because there's going to be a lot of people with the Klan there, and I don't want to be like walking by someone or near someone that may be Klan and get caught in a photo. You know how they do, photos, paparazzi.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, I'll be there covering it. So, that was what I asked. But
I may or may not. I didn't say I'm not.
Right.
But if I do go, I would only go if I have a small group with me. And if we do, I'll let you know. But we wouldn't, with condition you don't let anyone know in advance.
No.
But see, because there are going to be Klan there. Nancy Rushton, the person who told me that if I join her at Stone Mountain, of course, there's a story of falling out, that she is going to be standing with the White Knight KKK.
Right. So, okay. Well, that'll be...
And I don't see how any decent person can stand with the Klan between you and me.
All right. So, on the issue of I thought something interesting that you talked about was, well, basically they have cells, so you need to have cells. So you're fighting fire with the, with cells, lone wolves, that kind of thing.
But I think there's any other way to describe a group of people, maybe whether it's 4 people, 6 people, or a dozen people, a group of guys or gals or whatever. It worked for the Taliban, and so it worked for the IRA. Not that I'm a fan of the IRA, but they, look at the small number of IRA, the amount of damage and expense that they did when they were active. I mean, there wasn't even 500 members of the IRA. And look at the mayhem, and they were definitely terrorists. They were terrorists. But the point I'm getting at is only took a small number. That's what they were able to do. They were highly trained and well organized. Okay, American people are even more trained and better organized and better equipped.
Right.
The answer is you can't have peace by compromise, and peace at all costs should be avoided, because peace at all costs will become, quote, freedom lost. So again, I'll say that peace at all costs becomes freedom lost, because that means at all costs means you're giving something up, you're giving some liberties up. And remember that quote, as life so dear and peace so sweet, to be purchased at the price of change and tyranny.
Uh-huh.
Right? Some people would say yes. I'd say no.
So, I guess the distinction here is that if a person runs at you with a knife and you shoot them, it's clearly a very simple and straightforward case of self-defense. when you describe the
Correct.
idea of they have cells, so we have cells, you get into something a little bit broader. And again, I guess the concern would be, or the question would be that
Well,
I want to understand.
the cells are preparing for a civil war that we see is inevitable in this country.
Right, but if you're in something of a like there are people who I've interviewed who believe that we're in a civil war now. So I guess my question is if you heard,
we are. I should have tried to change it. But I'm talking about when it goes full war. I mean, we're in a civil war. It just hasn't really heated up. It hasn't gone full throttle. It's like the vehicle's moving, but you're only going down the road at 40 miles an hour. We haven't gotten to 80 or 100 miles an hour yet.
So you think we're in a civil war of a sort right now, but not the type where initiative cell violence is acceptable?
Right. I mean, at the present point where we're at, the police and our government have the ability to contain the violence, if they act upon it, using the amount of personnel they have and equipment. They are able to control it right now. But I'm talking about making it so out of control, right, that the police and the National Guard are not going to be able to contain it and control it. That's when the cars at 80 and 100 miles an hour. But see, technically, Antifa has already drawn first blood. But they've already attacked. And they've already advocated actions. In fact, it's interesting that Antifa really didn't get started really hard till the year 2017, which no one has pointed out that that's the 100-year anniversary of the first communist revolution, the Bolshevik Revolution, which is in 1917. You ever thought about that?
I hadn't thought about that centennial. That's an interesting.
Well, now you did. Now you did.
Yeah.
Antifa was just communist. They really got kicked off almost exactly, not almost, exactly 100 years later, Antifa kicks up at the centennial of the Bolshevik Revolution, which was the first successful communist revolution in the world.
So what level of escalation, like what kinds of specifics would you have to see before you're actually considering yourself, I guess, valid to begin retaliation against them? Do you get what I mean? Like, what would have to happen?
When the police are not able to prevent or stop extreme violent attacks on people because of their agenda, because of people like me expressing our views, they want to get violent. I mean, just like in Chapel Hill, if you were watching that guy with the bullhorn, before I knocked it out of my face and broke it, he was actually shoving it in the face of an old man that was other people that were on the outside of the barricade. Okay, so I mean, they are becoming confrontational. They're the ones that talk. And what's really interesting, when they get hurt, they cry. They cry. Again, if you watch that video that the guy hit the eschaton and he's holding his knee when I hit him, he cried and upset that, you're all going to jail, when he got hit. It's okay for them to attack him. But what's also easily pointed out, and I hope I'm making this interesting for you, is Winston Churchill said, in the future, the true fascists or the fascists will refer to themselves as, ready for this, anti-fascist.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I've heard that quote.
Okay, good. Well, okay. So, yeah, you can tell I'm all read on stuff. Churchill, by the way, was one of my favorite figures of icons, or whatever you want to call it, in history. Not an idol, but an icon. Winston Churchill was one of my favorite men in history. In modern history, I meant. You know what I mean?
Right.
Winston Churchill, and of course Ronald Reagan, as far as influencing the way I think.
Uh-huh.
And Nancy Russian, they want to protect these monuments, but they it's really interesting that some of the false accusations against me from the liberal left, she's trying to use against me, and it's going to fail. For instance, on her site, she's showing that little video collage of different videos of me. The one of me in the yellow shirt there, the one of me inside, the one of me in the yellow shirt was when I was at a recruiting center at the Chattanooga shooting. The sign that said, support and defend our troops from Islamic savages. Okay. Oh my God, that's hateful. That's hateful. No, I stand against Islam. I think it should be banned in the country. I think mobs should be boarded up and shut down. I don't think Muslims should have the right to practice the Islamic faith. Is actually, according to the 1962 McCarran Waters Act, it's actually banned. Jefferson didn't allow it either. And I think Islam should be banned in our country, just like they're trying to do it in Poland and Uganda.
Wouldn't that go against our Constitution with respect to freedom of religion?
No. And I'll tell you why it wouldn't go against our Constitution for freedom of religion. Because the Quran is a book of insurrection and it's a declaration of war. It is not a book of just worship. It's a book of advocating violence, killing the infidel, left and right. Okay? Actually, if you look at it, at least 51 or 52% of the book is political, and the Quran says the caliphate. The word caliphate is the Islamic system of law and justice. It institutes a political system based on a so-called religious book, how you are to live in society. And I think everybody should have the right to worship, provided you're not involved in insurrection, which all the mosques are connected to, and it's been allowed to have terrorist cells in our country. The Council on American-Islamic Relations, you can look it up, have had throughout the time it was formed, as openly stated, they're not here to coexist, they're here to become dominant. The Muslim Warriors Guild, they openly and overtly stated that their ultimate goal is to institute Sharia law, with punishments on those that insult Islam or refuse to submit to it, with the real big goal, the end game goal of actually executing any that insult Islam and refuse to submit. The Muslim Warriors Guild has actually overtly stated that. The Council on American-Islamic Relations, okay, they have their leaders like, I'll use in Texas, for example, think that Muslims should be exempt from the laws of the land. They're the biggest enemies of free speech and the Second Amendment. They embrace terrorism.
Wouldn't the constitutional position be to stop someone once they've actually, I guess, infringed on those rights? So rather than prevent someone from worshiping,
well, if I would,
then stop them when someone actually writes a bill that says you can't draw Muhammad or whatever, rather than just banning the religion outright.
Well, the banning of the religion is it's not really a religion. It's an ideology, and that's not debatable. It's an ideology, but the religious leaders here are involved in an organizing plan to overthrow our government. If I had paperwork or computer files of cells, okay, that we're actively organizing to overthrow the government, right? That would be illegal. Okay, Thomas Jefferson, again, our country was based and founded on the opposition to Islam. Because they open to free practice of it, and people shouldn't be allowed to practice the religion. No, female genital mutilation, which occurs in this country. There are Sharia courts in this country. They impose their will over Christianity in the schools. Okay, they don't want Christianity taught, but yet they're pushing their Islam. So we cannot coexist with Islam. We cannot coexist. Because according to Islam, their system has to be dominant. So when it gets to 20%, what happens is that it's declared Islamic territory. We're not there yet. That's why Europe is having all these problems, because they've had so many Muslims come in, and now look what's happening. It's turned into a shithole. There's a lot of people that are against Islam that right now they're pretty much silent. But believe me, there's a conflict coming in this country between, I don't know, you call them kuffars, infidels versus Muslims. It's coming.
Okay, and so
They got terror cells actively in America. Almost every mosque is buried for jihad. These mosques are funding terrorist organizations overseas. It's true, and it's a fact. It's not an opinion. You can look up the history of camp.
Let me I guess connect the dots in a way that some other people could.
I talked a lot and started with Nancy, but you got my phone number still, right?
I'm sorry?
You got my phone number still, right?
Her phone number?
My phone number.
Well, I guess I have your phone number from this call. So
okay.
I'll add it. But what I was gonna say is, you've described cell versus cell. That basically you have cells so that you're prepared for retaliation, I guess, against others, and you're declaring mosques to be inherently terroristical or inherently not a religion but an ideology or attached to terrorism. Again, with videos of you saying the way to defend yourself is basically to kill people. Should Muslims be concerned about your about your rhetoric and your firearms and everything else?
When they decide to act upon what they're planning, yes, the answer would be yes. When they decide to act upon what they got planned, the answer would be yes. When they decide, here's the thing, openly advocate and condone lethal force to any law based entirely or in part on Sharia law, i.e. the Quran. How about that? In other words, no American should be subject to laws that violate the Quran. If I want to disrespect and burn the Quran, I should have the right to do that. If I want to wear an anti-Islamic shirt, I should have the right to do that. Okay? Americans should resist with lethal force, okay, the enforcement when we're not there yet, but we are getting closer and closer. I do believe in lethal resistance to Sharia law, even if it's legislated and voted on and put into place. I don't believe in submitting to laws based on Sharia. No.
What would a legislative solution to Sharia look like? What would that mean?
Okay, if I don't know how familiar you are with Great Britain and their hate crime laws, right? Insulting Islam, burning a Quran. I walk around on the street and say, Allah sucks. Islam is of the devil. In Britain, I could be arrested for that.
Right, but so what would be the opposite? You suggested that you would like a legislative solution against Muslims.
No, I said.
Oh,
if they were to legislate,
hear you?
If they were to legislate it in the law.
Oh, I understand. You'd resist if they legislated it.
Yeah, even if it was voted in and all that. Even if it was upheld by the court, it would be a law that would be an unjust law, and if a law is unjust, we have the obligation. We have the right and obligation to disobey it.
So I guess
I don't believe.
I was going to ask.
That's why Muslims are concerned. You know why Muslims are concerned? Because they know what their end game is. They know that they want to Islamicize America, and they know it's people like me and others that preach that we will not be silent, we will not submit, we will not comply with Islam. Okay. I walk by Muslims every day in the grocery store. I don't walk up to them and laugh them, But the thing is I have the right to wear a shirt against Islam. Someone has the right to wear a shirt against Christianity.
Right. What I was going to ask is, do you feel like Trump has kind of moved the ball into your court a bit? I mean, I guess so. We're a couple years into a Trump presidency and a few years into kind of the Trump era. I've only heard of you in the last.
Trump is able to do a lot what he wants to do because his hands are being tied by a corrupt system of both parties. And I was just like the other day. I was thinking, I go, isn't that interesting? We gave $154 billion to our man, right? In cash, not, banknotes, but cash. And all he needs is $5 billion for a wall. But we gave $154 billion to our man. Isn't that kind of ironic?
Fair enough. I mean, so, okay. But I guess my question was in terms of your sort of work or ideology or establishment. do you feel like Trump has, I guess, enabled that or given influence to it, or do you feel like you and your kinds of people have influenced his policies?
I think, well, I don't influence him. He don't influence me. It's kind of doesn't go really either way. I mean, we support Trump, even though, he's not going to be able to, do what he said he would do, but he decided to go.
Mm-hmm. Do you have, well, so, I mean, unless you had anything else that you wanted to talk about, I guess I was just going to ask, is there anything else that you sort of want to add?
No,
Yep.
no. If you want to reach out to me anytime, you got my number, I'll let you know. We decided to, I got to call some guys this morning. We're still deciding if we're going to go to Stone Mountain on a second. We haven't decided that yet. So that may happen, but if I go, I won't be alone.
Yeah. My intention is one thing I hate in the mainstream media is that they cut up words to make something sound like something other than what it is. My plan is I'll write sort of like a short description, like kind of explaining the general context of this conversation, but I plan to basically just put it out from the moment that I started recording it so that there's no way anything either of us said could be misconstrued. The whole thing's just on the record.
Let me know when you do. Yeah, let me know when you do, and I'll share it.
All
but
right.
I stand by what I said. Listen, I stand for what I say, okay? I stand by the words that come out of my mouth, okay? And I'm far from being alone. I'm exercising my free speech, and if people don't like it, well, then they should go to hell because, see, here's the thing. Free speech is a pressure release valve of a civil society, okay? When you take the ability for the people to have free speech, Lincoln Congress and Kennedy said, when the people can no longer have a peaceful revolution, violent revolution is inevitable. So, if free speech was totally taken away from American society, the people on both sides will react violently.
Sorry, what was the last bit?
When the free speech is taken away, right, there's both sides, left, right, moderate, but no longer to express themselves, right, with the First Amendment,
right,
then violence will become inevitable from both sides. Why? Because like Kennedy pointed out, again, the peaceful revolution is no longer possible. Violent revolution becomes inevitable.
Right. And so you see yourself as somebody who would be prepared if that situation occurred.
I would rather die. Okay, I would rather die standing for the Constitution than accepting its removal.
Right. Okay. Well, fair enough. I mean, so I have your number, and it seems that you have mine.
I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees. And again, we're not here to attack. We're here to defend my enemies. Yeah, they don't have to fear people like me and the people I associate with unless they decide to act upon their threats. They'll get a beatdown, just like the guy and Google that. It was on the Blaze. It was on InfoWars. Crazed leftists attacked Trump supporters in Atlanta. He got a beatdown. I hit him so hard my baton's bent, and I had to go buy a new one.
You put a dent in the baton by hitting him?
Yeah, I hit him so hard. I dent across his leg. Yeah.
Wow. Fair enough. Okay. So, all right. We have each other's phone numbers. So, why don't I hop off the call? But if you know of some other event that you plan to go to, or anything that you wanted to share, update me on.
You might be interested, or maybe something else that I'm not going into. Might be interesting for your news to share. I'll let you know too.
Right. Okay.
You have a good one.
All right.
Bye.
Yep. Bye. And for the record, that phone conversation ended at 11:27 p.m. today, and that's January 4th. So that was James. I'm gonna mess up the last name here, but Stachowiak, who I first filmed a couple of weeks ago at UNC Chapel Hill at a protest, and he has been getting a fair amount of attention for a number of videos that he's put online before that and since then, in which he essentially displays his firearms and talks about the fact that if he were attacked by people who are mostly associated with, I guess, the counter-demonstrating left, such as Antifa, that he'd be interested in using retaliatory violence against them. And this has caught the attention of organizations like the SPLC and others. But so I had been posting a few clips that I saw of him, kind of drawing attention to that. And this morning, he actually called me at 10:22 a.m. So I started recording a couple minutes into that conversation, and I'm about to release the conversation in the entirety of the portion which I recorded, sort of for the record there. So sort of an interesting conversation, an interesting kind of resource to understand his mindset. And so, if you are listening to this, add any comments, thoughts that you see fit. So thanks for listening.